discuss 3 trending products in the natural products industry. Those 3 products are Colostrum, Shilajit, and Tallow. So I'm happy to dive in today and explain a little bit about the science and the health behind these 3 items. So we're going to start with number 1, colostrum. Most people know of colostrum through the first milk that a mammal produces or a mom produces when they have a baby. And so what's so beautiful is the way that we were created was that first milk, the colostrum, is absolutely packed with nutrients. Now, most babies or mammals only receive this colostrum for maybe a week, like the first week of their life. And after that, the colostrum numbers within the milk become less and less. It was designed that way so that there was that initial immune protection going into the baby. And it's just beautiful the way that this was orchestrated. So what is within colostrum? Okay, colostrum contains over 400 bioactive nutrients. Colostrum contains something called lactoferrin. Lactoferrin actually helps shuttle iron into the rich oxygenated blood cells so that the iron's actually transported to where it needs to go. A lot of people have problems absorbing iron, and so lactoferrin, this component within colostrum, is really vital to get the iron to where it needs to go. Colostrum also contains these immunoglobulins, which is IgG, IgA, and IgM. And so these 3 immunoglobulins are vital for creating a really strong gut barrier or gut lining. So something I am huge on within health is working on rebuilding or maintaining someone's gut lining. You know, we've heard that our gut is our second brain. We know that our gut is so connected to our digestion. It's so connected to how our brain feels. And what has happened as a society is the more use of antibiotics, the worse chemicals within our food, the more that our gut lining becomes a little bit porous and it starts to have these holes. That is more ways for toxins to seep out into our bloodstream and create chronic inflammation, create a chronic virus or a pathogen that can just stick around and not want to leave our body. I actually have an image here that I want to show you. This would be a healthy gut lining. So this is kind of a simple image of a person's gut. So this is a beautiful, robust, very just thick and healthy gut lining. And then below it is the bloodstream. So within our GI tract, if we have the proper gut lining, we're going to have the right type of bacteria. We're going to have the right type of almost like a mucus layer. We're going to have the right type of protectants so that when all these things that are listed over here come into our GI tract, they are not able to go into our bloodstream. What's beautiful is they just go right through our digestive tract. They're either killed, our acid kills it, they go through small and large intestine, and then they actually just make their way out, and they never even impacted our system knowingly. We weren't even aware that they had come into our body because of the beautiful immune capacity within our gut. So these things that are shown up here are things like bacteria, viruses, allergens, toxins, and there's also good bacteria and good antibodies and things that are found, but those negative things we really don't want to get into the bloodstream. So colostrum is one of the vital components of maintaining this healthy gut lining. One more, and I did pull this from Microbiome Labs, so I just want to give them credit. We do love Microbiome Labs. This is a little bit more comprehensive of a look, but this is showing a healthy gut over here. And what I really want to point out is this. So you see how those junctions are loosening? See how all of this is tight together and there's no space between the purple and the junctions? You see here, when it becomes porous, all of this stuff starts leaking through. So what would this person be experiencing? They could be experiencing food allergies. They could be experiencing chronic fatigue. They could be experiencing skin issues. They could be experiencing constant infections and they can't figure out why. They could say, I used to never get sick, and now I'm getting sick 3 to 4 to 5 times a year, and I can't fight off the next bacteria or the next virus, and I'm having to turn to antibiotics. Those are common things that I hear when someone's gotten into what they call a leaky gut situation. So we go back and we look at colostrum. Colostrum was created initially to help that little baby's gut lining that's so fresh and new, but it's also very porous at the time because it's just getting into its first stages to get into those tight junctions. Colostrum does that for those babies. So what we have found is that if someone has gotten into a predicament with their gut health or they're seeing they have some symptoms that are unwanted, we turn back to nature to look at what was given to us when we were infants and what can we do to use that as an adult. So colostrum has really taken off. There's two brands that you may have heard of. Cowboy is one brand, and then Armro. Those are like the two most popular ones. I think they're both very good. They're kind of a high price point, but they are grass-fed, just to point those out. Now, we don't sell those at our store, but I do think those companies do pretty good research in their colostrum. What I also want to point out is sourcing is really important with colostrum because fat from the milk and from the dairy is where toxins are going to accumulate. So if you don't choose a very clean, treated animal or cow that's been grass-fed, treated with less chemicals, not constantly walking on pesticides in the grass and all those things, you're going to have a cleaner product. So I do like to know sourcing with my colostrum because it is an animal-based product. And I do require that it is grass-fed. Grass-fed is going to have a lot more of those bioactive nutrients versus something that is not grass-fed. I think the last two things that I wanted to say here is that for dosing, people are always going to ask what would be a great dose. So we have pills and we have powder. One scoop of this is going to give 3,000 milligrams. And a pill, 2 capsules, is going to give 1,000 milligrams. I say to start actually around 500 to 1,000 milligrams. The reason I say this is because if you are in a state where your gut is a little bit more toxic, so maybe your gut is in this inflamed state that I was showing, there is a chance you could have a small reaction. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be something terrible and I don't want to put fear in anybody, but when you are going in and you're cleaning house and you're actually trying to start rebuilding those junctions back together, you're going to have to get rid of some things that you didn't need in your gut in the first place. And sometimes that looks like a little bit of a detox. So I just try to get people to start low and slow on this. So if you were to use a powder, I would say about 500 milligrams, which would be about a quarter of this powder, maybe even an eighth, honestly. And then with this, I would just do 1 capsule. Now, these are two very trusted companies that we like at our store. Designs for Health is a practitioner-based brand. I think it's a wonderful brand. And then Equip, they really specialize in beef protein powder. And then now this colostrum, it's grass-fed, so it is across the board very clean. And it's also glyphosate-free. So I love that they've done further testing on that. So that's kind of everything I want to say about colostrum. You can take it daily. I actually add this into my protein shake in the morning time, and that's a beginning way for me to go about my day. I have had people ask me before, if they have trouble with probiotics, do I think they're going to have trouble with colostrum? Potentially. They're very different things because we're not looking at bacteria really when we're looking at this. So we're going to be looking at a different approach to building that gut lining. I would actually encourage someone to begin with this instead of a probiotic if they're having trouble with a probiotic and see if we can rebuild the gut lining a little bit better. And then we kind of go back to that probiotic afterward. So again, if you think you've gotten to a state of what you don't want in your gut, just start low and slow, and then you're going to titrate up to a full dose. So that's colostrum. My other products that I want to jump over here to is tallow. So tallow is all the rage. I mean, if you follow any sort of health organization, even if you've seen, they're going to start frying some fries at Steak and Shake with tallow. Now, I'm not sure of the quality of the tallow there, but it is a trend and it is catching on. And I'm very thankful that we're getting away from those seed oils and those, terrible oils that we have been frying stuff in. So why is tallow becoming so popular? Tallow is going to be a rendered fat coming from beef. And again, as I mentioned with colostrum, the absolute most vital important thing is that you know how the cows were treated, because this is all fat we're talking about. And fat is where the toxins are going to accumulate. If that cow was dirty, if that cow was toxic, if that cow was fed bad, whatever it may be, that is going to accumulate in your beef tallow. So we're going to talk topical and then we're going to talk internal. So let's talk internal. So this would be for cooking, for making recipes with, for, putting down on your pan before you fry your eggs, things like that. I love this brand, the Arizona grass-fed beef. I've researched them pretty heavily. We sell a lot of this at our store. They are no hormones, no antibiotics. They don't feed grain, no feedlots, and they are free-roaming cows that have a lot of a good life and a good environment to roam around. So I think that's a great option. We'll move over here, and this is a newer one. This is Fond. Fond, it's newer to us, so it's been on the market, but it's a newer thing to us. They're grass-fed and they're regenerative. So we've been talking a little bit more about regenerative farming. That means that their farm is sustainable in a way that every component kind of feeds another component. So they probably have ways of collecting rainwater that then the rainwater is given to the animals and the cows, and the manure is then used probably in the garden to help feed the plants to grow. So they just have a very zero waste kind of program, and it creates a beautiful symphony of things to grow at a really high nutrient density. So these are the internal ones. Now, why beef tallow? Very high in saturated fat. Saturated fat got a terrible representation throughout the 90s and the early 200s or 2000s, sorry. And it was a story that was sold to us that was a lie, unfortunately, that saturated fat was going to cause heart disease. There's enough data out there now to show that that's simply not true. If anything, saturated fat actually has a wonderful protective benefit for our heart health and protective benefit to our cholesterol and those cardiovascular systems. Now, we have to say, like anything, you have to keep that in check. You can't be consuming bottles of this every day and see that that's not going to affect you. But using this within its proper dosing is absolutely a benefit to your health. Tallow is going to provide a lot of fat-soluble vitamins as well. Fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K, which is really cool. It also provides choline. And then lastly, it provides something called CLA. CLA is a type of fatty acid, conjugated linoleic acid, that is very beneficial for your metabolism. So there's actually a lot of benefit to speeding up your metabolism through this type of saturated fat. Really cool. So tallow, it also has a very high smoke point. That's why it's used for frying. It can actually go up to about 480 degrees. And then I always tell this to women that are asking me for hormone balancing advice. One of the precursors to your body creating enough of your hormones, your sex hormones, your stress hormones, you have so many different systems of hormones in your body. One of the precursors is making sure you have enough saturated fat. Now, I'm not saying this is going to fix menopausal symptoms and perimenopausal symptoms, but it is one of those things that you want to make sure your body has enough of this precursor to work with so that it down the line can create enough of the hormones that you need. So what I love doing with it, cooking, if we cook steak, we need a little bit more butter. We use tallow. For making eggs in the morning for the kids, we use beef tallow. Anything that I would imagine you could use butter in, you could swap that for tallow. Now, there's some things, if you're making something sweet, I probably wouldn't switch it for tallow just because it does have a little bit of that animal flavor to it. But if you're making something savory, I think it's even enhances the flavor of what you're eating. So that is the internal tallow. And then we'll move over here to the external tallow. So we have a lot of options at our store of external tallow, but I brought two of the options. So this is Derma Cow, and this is a whipped tallow made from grass-fed cows. And then they've added a little bit of vitamin C, which is like a perfect combination for your skin because you're going to have all those fat-soluble vitamins, the vitamin D, vitamin E, the K, and the A, which that actually creates a layer on your skin, a protective layer, and then it soaks in deeply for hydration. I've heard wonderful reviews on it for wrinkles, for skin brightening. And then when they add the vitamin C, they've got that other antioxidant in there that we know helps produce more collagen for your skin. So that's a really, really good line. And then this is local. So this is somebody within our store or within our region that is actually buying the tallow from a local farm. And then he's using our house brand, Maize Medicinals, essential oils within the tallow. So this is going to be a whipped, clean, grass-fed tallow with a little bit of essential oils in it. So lastly, just general things about fat. Our brain is 60% fat. It requires fat in order to operate. We need cholesterol. Cholesterol is a benefit to our body. Cholesterol is a protectant against things like neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. So we actually need these healthy fats. They're not something to run from. They're something to find clean and good sources, and then to lean into those clean sources and know that you're getting the good fat your body needs. So that is on tallow. And then we're going to move over here to Shilajit. So Shilajit, it's an ancient tar-like substance, and I found this so interesting. It's in the Himalayas and then the Tibetan mountains, and it actually oozes out of the mountains at certain times of the year, and at certain points when the temperature is just right, it oozes. And I wish I could show you guys what the resin looks like, but it is a tar-like substance. So this is going to be the most, maybe I can show you. This is going to be, I'll buy this one for myself. There it is. So it's a tar-like substance that's naturally the way people have taken it for thousands of years. And to be honest, if you were to take it like this, it does have a very ashy firewood taste to it. So it actually tastes a little bit like tar. So I know that doesn't sound that appetizing, but that is why companies have also come up with other delivery methods. We're going to get into the benefit of this here in a second. This has been used for thousands of years. The main reason we believe scientifically is because of its fulvic acid content. So fulvic acid is a vital mineral that actually goes into our body and helps to remineralize our system. And it also helps in the detoxification pathways. So fulvic acid is one of those very unique molecules that can even help us detoxify unwanted things. We do come across plenty of unwanted things within the air and the water and the food. So we like to have a daily detoxifying agent, but because it's a mineral source, it actually is providing the minerals instead of stripping the minerals. So one of those reasons, like I said, is for its fulvic acid content. And then what it's doing scientifically in the body is we believe it's enhancing the mitochondrial function. So every little cell in our body has this mitochondria within it, and the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We remember that from 9th and 10th grade. And so we know that our mitochondria can be damaged by free radicals. Our mitochondria can be damaged by lack of sleep, chronic stress, viruses, infections, life essentially over time. And so supporting our mitochondria is one way to kind of encompass this idea of longevity and encompass this idea of aging gracefully as we get older. And so Shilajit to me is one of those daily things that provides us mitochondrial function support, which I think is something that is a little bit underrated, but it's coming back into popularity, is let's support those little mitochondria to then produce more ATP. And what does ATP do? ATP is a form of energy. So when our ATP produces more energy, we have more energy. We have more brain energy, more body energy, physical energy. More energy allows us to do more things with our life. So fulvic acid, mitochondrial function, and then even a neuroprotectant. So they're finding a couple of studies I was able to pull on the fact that it does protect our brain cells, so from breaking down. And as we age and as things cross the blood-brain barrier and the free radical situation I'm talking about, we do want to lean into those things that are going to protect our brain cells. So there's 4 ways I have up here to take it. It was the resin, I have the gummies, and then I have it in a tincture form mixed with glycerin. Glycerin does make it a little bit sweeter. And then I have tablets. I just prefer the tablets, 1 a day on the tablet. Other health benefits besides the fulvic and the mitochondria, increase in testosterone. So a lot of men are taking it for healthy testosterone levels. Testosterone also then can provide more energy when you have your testosterone optimized. Very, very good for sperm quality in the way that it's working for increasing testosterone. Those kind of go hand in hand. And I found one study showing it may reduce altitude sickness. So I found that interesting. If you're heading out west or you're going to climb a mountain and you feel like you need a little support in that area. So these are my 3 trending things within our natural products industry. And if you had questions, I hope some of them were answered. And we look forward to giving you another video in a couple of weeks.